Hey, Sens fans, welcome to today's episode. A little bit better feelings wise than last episode, but still got to talk about an L in game two, but that's okay. Just Matt and I here today, the double Matts taking care of today's episode, and we're going to talk about how game two fared for the Ottawa Senators and looking forward to the first home game of the series for the Ottawa Senators, game three, which will take place tonight by the time this comes out, which is Thursday evening, April 24th, and we're ready for some good vibes at the CTC. So, Matt, I'll throw it over to you first. And what were your thoughts on game two in this series?
Well, it started a bit tough. I don't know about you. Bennett said in our group chat, he was like, "I'm tired, boss." And yeah, I agree. It was a tough start. You know, two goals on four shots, just like the night before or two nights before. And they were kind of fluky. I think everybody is obviously going to pile on that, the goaltending needs to be better, and like fair enough. But goal one was off somebody's skate on a crispy pass that could have been, had a stick in a lane. Second goal was, kind of the same thing. Or sorry, no, it went off of Nick Jensen, but off another weird pass. And, I liked Olmark battling back, which was great. The only thing I kind of I don't think he's very confident right now. But it was good to see that he made some big saves going into overtime, and even the overtime goal. Like, I feel for Batherson because he puts out that, you know, flubber of a pass, back checks all the way. And listen, this is the playoffs, and I think you need to play physical. Max Domi was on the train tracks. Drake Batherson is a 6'3" man. Max Domi is not. And Drake Batherson should have absolutely leveled him. But he watched the puck and got deeped.
So,
Uh,
my theory on this, because
Give
I
me your
completely,
theory.
completely agree that I think, I want to see him just hammer Domi, but it could totally be just like my own well, it is my own speculation. I'm wondering if because between games one and two, um, Travis Green had said that he had told the guys, like less cross checks, keep the
Yeah.
sticks down.
Yeah.
I wonder if in that instance he felt like if he hit Domi, he would have gotten penalized for that being like a vulnerable player. And with the way that, like, I would say game two was called much better than game one. But if you're a player who it's overtime and you don't want to get your team into a garbage situation, maybe that was his thought process. I know he wouldn't say that if that was his thought process because you don't want to throw out excuses, especially when you're in the playoffs. That's just my hunch. That said, it doesn't excuse, that weird backhanded pass. I still don't know where he was going with that. It's something that actually annoyed me about the Sens before the playoffs. They would sometimes just sauce the puck into the middle of the ice, and I'm like, nobody's there to retrieve it.
Yeah.
I would have rather liked to have seen him just dump that around the boards and let the forward on the opposite side try to retrieve it on the forecheck. At the end of the day, that doesn't work out. Fine, that's one mistake. But then coming back, you can't have Domi. First of all, he skirts by Dylan Cousins, and then Batherson comes in, like you said, could have laid a hit, goes for the stick check, doesn't work. So just both those guys miss. And then to seal the deal, Allmark is screened by like three guys. One of them, at minimum, is his own guy. And the puck goes in, and that's really all it takes, right? Is just a puck towards the net through traffic, and it's in. So yeah, so anyway, I kind of got a little sidetracked there, but all that to say, I'm not trying to make excuses for Batherson.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm wondering if that was part of why he didn't lay a hit. Because you're right. Like Max Domi was ripe for the
Yeah.
pick in there.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen him getting laid out, but
Yeah.
I'm just curious if that crossed Batherson's mind. But We'll never
You
know.
have to wonder because of how the refereeing kind of was in the first game. I'm sure they had to kind of change up their game style because of how um how it was called in the first game. But at the same time, it's now OT in a playoff game. The refs don't want to be handing out power plays. They don't want to be handing out
I'll give you that.
bad penalties or anything like that. So it's just one of those things. And at the same time, I don't know. Do you take a chintzy call in order to save the goal? Like, and I know a lot of people had said like they didn't like the goal on Allmark, and there was actually a perfect reason why it was scored. There were four guys in front of him.
Yeah.
There's he didn't see the puck at all. But hey, I think the Sens played in a great game. Their shots on net aren't quite high danger. But they're getting there. And I think there are two very bright spots. One, they were down 2-0. Okay. And they battled back to tie it up late in the third period. Leafs looked deflated. The building looked deflated. Every time they shot to another Leafs fan, it was like, oh, ingest this
Here we go
right
again.
in my body, inject it in my veins. It's great.
Yeah.
And then two, Tim Stützle was flying in that third period going into overtime. He looked like in a different player. That's what you need. You need him to show up. You need Brady Tkachuk, who scored a goal last night, to show up. You need Jake Sanderson to show up. These guys are great players. And I feel like they're not playing to the caliber that we know that they can. And finally, the penalty kill is it's abysmal. They're like, sure, the Leafs power play is good, but like it probably helps that our penalty kill is a detriment. My God. So that's another thing that Travis Green kind of needs to figure out. I saw that, Nick Cousins was finally in the lineup, which is great, but the fourth line was actually not really used. It was used very sparingly. And in the third period, luckily, Adam Gaudette showed up. He was the hockey god. And you need that. But I feel much better about the Sens the day after than I did when we recorded the other day. So I think there's a lot of good things to work on, and getting home, you only need to worry when you lose on home ice.
Yes, that's how the saying goes.
Yeah.
And I think it'll help having the series come back to Ottawa. I think having the building be lively and having Sens fans going berserk, just being on home ice, home territory, I think will really help. And I know, I don't know, I've seen some fans on social media, Leafs fans, I should specify, saying that, oh, that's just our home arena 2.0.
Yeah.
I think that there will be a very solid amount of Sens fans in the building. It's going to be a sold out barn. I don't think there's going to be a large contingent of Leafs fans like you see in the regular season.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be Leafs fans that come out.
They're going to get in.
Yeah.
It's like it's a disease. They're going to find their way in.
My cousin, he's a Leafs fan. He was asking me if I had extra tickets, and I was like, sorry, bro.
Matt is thinking he would rather give it to his podcast host buddy.
Exactly.
Over his dirty cousin.
It was a sorry, not sorry moment for sure.
Yeah.
Although I will say he has yet to chirp me. He did.
I don't care. He's a Leafs fan.
I'm saying him and a coworker of mine are both Leafs fans, and they both came to me and said, when the Sens tied it up, they were having oh no, here we go again vibes. So as confident as some Leafs fans may appear on social media and whatnot, and trying to say that they're dusting the Sens and they're going to sweep them, I think that's far from the truth. I think that they're definitely putting up a front. This is going to get clipped, and somebody's going to post this on social media. I'm going to get called out.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You know
I'm
what?
going
You
down
live
with a
or die
ship.
by the sword. So,
Going down with the ship.
yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But in the back of their minds, definitely when Leafs fans, when they saw that score get tied up, or even the team themselves, when the Sens tied it up, I'm sure there was some self doubt that crept in.
Yeah.
And, it took two large mistakes in overtime for Toronto to capitalize. I really think that game three is going to Ottawa. This isn't just hopium or copium. Maybe it's both. Um, but yeah, so we'll see how it goes. And maybe on this note, let's transition to game three. And I kind of already mentioned the atmosphere and whatnot, but what are you expecting from the home crowd or maybe just the team in general coming into this game?
The Sens are really good at home. They are really, really good at home. Um, and they love playing at that barn and they love Sens fans. And
I would hope so.
yeah, listen, the one thing I need to see a little more from Sens fans is like life. Uh, the past few games I've been going to, it feels like there's maybe 10 to 15 go send like loud go Sens go chants, and then that's kind of it, and we're all just chatting away. Um, and I've been saying this for years. I wish the Sens would do more in game, like during the game, promoting chants and stuff like that. Because organic chants are great, but sometimes being like whenever Sparty goes to a section and starts banging a drum, people do it. So clearly that works. So you just need to find other things that also work. Uh, so I think the building's got to be loud and the people can just feed off of it because some of the loudest games I've ever heard are always in the playoffs. And that building can get so loud, and it hasn't been very, very loud consistently for a long time. So I'm really hoping that these guys like have goosebumps going on to that onto home ice and get that lift from it.
Yeah, and personally, I think honestly, when it comes to near the end of the season, the Sens do more ticket giveaways. I know for myself, like there were a couple times where the Sens are like, "Hey, we know you already have tickets this game. Here's a couple of tickets to give away to some fans." And for the casual crowd, I think near the end of the season, like that's kind of when you see more of them come in, watch a game. I saw like a lot more of those tweener 3D jersey years, not the ones right after like the '07 season, but I'm talking about like those ones that they had for maybe 2 or 3 seasons before they switched to the 2D logo, where it was like Adidas had revamped. I use air quotations for those listening to the audio format, revamped in quotations. Jerseys that they put out for a couple of seasons. But anyway, I've seen too many of those, and I'm like, all right. But then come playoff time, I think you'll see like a lot more of the jerseys behind me over my shoulder, the 2D home ones that they released a few seasons ago. I think you're gonna see a lot more of that. I think you're gonna see a lot of chanting. I'm hoping for a lot of zoobs out there. Hoping for obviously a lot of Go Sens goes. I would say piggybacking off what you were saying about Spartacat going to a section, hitting the drum. First of all, he needs a drum that has deeper bass to it. It's a little too light. I'm looking for a heftier drum, just like we need a heftier bell if they're going to keep that thing. Okay, we need more heft in the
Yeah.
arena. But I went and saw a game in Montreal, and I was in this like Molson export zone, and they had a handful of people that were positioned at like each of those like landings that are in between the staircases by the
Yeah.
glass, and they would get chants going, and for the loudest fans they would give them coupons for free beers. And
Sick.
so I was like, man, the Sens, they should do something like that where if you know somebody is there for the Sens and they're hitting their tambourine or whatever it is, cowbell, to get people going. If you see someone who's, absolutely letting it fly, give them a ticket for, a free
Incentivize it. That's
beer. Yeah.
actually a massive idea.
Yeah.
And
So
our owner was an owner of the Habs. He should know about this.
Exactly. It could
Yeah.
be something actually. Now that I'm thinking of it, I should shoot a message to Ian Mendez. I doubt they would do it for the playoffs, but that would be definitely helpful. And bringing
Yeah.
back a Sens supporter section, that was
Yeah,
actually
that's
huge.
another great idea as well.
So stuff like that, where it's like Sens only colors, they should bring stuff like that back to really get the atmosphere going. Um, Obviously, like having custom chants helps. Like I don't think you see that a lot in the NHL, but we'll see. There's a lot of chants that come out when people are passionate. Obviously, when you go to the games that are bigger draws during the regular season, a lot of passion, a lot
Yeah.
of whatever chants. I've heard some funny stuff come out, so let's do that. I'm gonna be there for all the home games, so um, I got lucky, got my season tickets secured for the playoffs prior to them like lining up
Yeah.
against the Leafs, so it was
Yeah.
not as expensive. Um, but yeah, I'm ready. I'm pumped. I'm gonna be chanting as much as I can. I got tickets for a handful of other Sens fans, despite the portal being terrible when they launched that. So we're gonna have an amped up crowd. I know the people who I gave tickets to, they're yellers. They'll get the job done for sure where they're sitting.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway, that's my little spiel on that. But is there anything lineup wise that you're hoping for? It doesn't have to be personnel changes, but maybe just uh certain lines you might like to see have more action, maybe changes to some of the lines, anything like that.
I think for me the obvious one is it's still Zetterlund needs to be put up. And I think what was happening is Zetterlund and G were taking turns on the top line, and the fourth line just wasn't playing. Um, and I know Zetterlund got some time on the second line as well. And then Timmy was double shifting like very often in the third period. So I kind of liked that. I liked how things were going. I felt like they had a lot of puck control and a lot of offensive zone time. I'd like to see I'd like to see Brady hit another gear. I feel like he's got a lot more to give. I feel like Sanderson has a lot more to give. The defensive stability really showed up um, in periods 2 and 3. I felt they kind of shored things up and things got better. But in terms of changes, I'm absolutely saying that you gotta like G just isn't keeping up, and Zetterlund can, and he's got a wicked shot. So that would be my biggest shift. Um, the third line of Amadio, Greg, and Pinto has been very good. I like the energy and like they create opportunities. Greg is was in the grill of Stellars. That penalty that he received for that was an absolute joke.
Yeah.
Leafs fans were like, you can't skate through the crease. And I'm like, listen, people do it all the time. They gave him a penalty to curb any more shenanigans. And quite frankly, let's call a spade a spade. There was no penalty there. But it is what it is. I think Allmark needs to have a strong game three. He needs to be able to see a puck. He needs to be able to stop a puck. And if you're able to limit the Leafs to limited high danger shots and they're putting pucks on the net that are kind of wobblers and aren't that guaranteed to go in, like those are the pucks you need him to see first before he's been getting into games recently. But I think that's kind of how the Leafs are playing right now. Is my buddy Marcus called it? They just blitzkrieged in the first 10 minutes. Just went as hard as possible, skating, crashing the net, and finally, like it worked twice. But once the Sens kind of got a read on that, it stopped happening as much, and their shots didn't improve at all. So yeah, like it's kind of a tough beast because you want to limit their shot attempts, but also you want to make sure your goalie's getting in a groove. So
Yeah.
Mark needs to be better, and if he's better, the Sens win.
And I think feeding off that home energy, I already mentioned this, but having that home energy, I think really helps. I think Toronto, especially in game one, they came out flying, and I think that they were just absolutely ready to go. And you could tell the Sens were not ready for the physicality that Toronto brought. That was, kind of not a character trait that the Toronto Maple Leafs are known to have, especially in the regular season.
Yeah.
So I think Ottawa is going to have a similar thing coming out of the gate for games 3 and 4. And I'm very curious to see what the series scoreline is after 4. And yeah,
Let's just hope it's not 4-0.
honestly, if that happens, I will be shocked. I just, I don't think that that will happen to this group.
I'm hoping not. Travis Green seems to have a good grasp on things. He needs to make some shifts here and there, but overall, the Sens have been a good team, and mistakes are just ending up in the back of the net. They outplayed the Leafs yesterday.
Yeah.
So like you just hope the hockey gods take some pity and make Stellars have a game where he's not
break his confidence.
yeah, like where he's just incredible. So let's hope that the Sens can generate offense, score a lot of goals, and the momentum shifts.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right. On that note, that'll wrap up our episode for today. Feel free to follow us on social media. We haven't been insane on there during the playoffs because I like to lay low a little bit, get a read on things, and try not to leave any easy bait for Leafs fans to jump at. But I'll definitely take some videos and post some content when I'm at the CTC for the playoff home games. I'm sure it'll be an absolute blast. So thanks everybody for watching or listening, subscribing, all that stuff. Really appreciate it. And as always, go Sens go.
Go Sens go. Rev up the red.